Hi everybody, I'm Bob Kovacs, and this is my 2014 Mazda 3. Today I will replace the battery in this car. It's similar to how you would replace the battery in just about any car on the road today. It's under the hood where most of the batteries are, and it's not that difficult a job. However, the battery itself is quite heavy. You're going to need some strength to pull the old battery out and put the new battery in. But other than that weight and lifting that, it's not that hard a job. Let's go ahead and get started. The tools needed for this project are pretty simple. You'll need a flat blade screwdriver, and in my case I'll need a ratchet with a 10mm socket. I have a 10mm deep socket in this case for reasons that you'll be seeing shortly. Your car may take a different size socket, but the Mazda 3 takes a 10mm socket. Now a wrench will work just fine as well. If you have a 10mm wrench or whatever size your car takes, that'll work just as fine as well. Here's where the battery is located under the hood of my car. This is a pretty typical location. It's a little cramped in here, but it's not too hard to get the battery in and out as long as you can deal with the weight. So the battery is held in with two fasteners, one here and one here, and they hold down a heavy metal bracket that holds the battery in place. Again, that's very typical for most cars. Also, there's a negative cable that goes to the negative terminal, and the positive cable to the battery is underneath this cap. The first step in the process of removing the battery is to take off the negative battery cable. That's this cable on the battery. Again, always do the negative cable first. That's a 10mm nut on that. So undo that nut, and with it loose, wiggle it off and pull this connector out of the way so it can't possibly make contact with the battery connector. Next is the positive terminal. Again, in this car it is a 10mm. So loosen it. And the reason why you might need a screwdriver is sometimes these battery terminals are on really tight, and this helps to pry them open so that you can get it off. So lift it off, and again move it out of the way. And here's the reason why I'm using a deep socket. I'm going to be taking off this nut next, and of course I've got this rod coming up through like that. So I'll be taking this off, and I needed a deep socket to get down over that rod to loosen it. Now what happens is you start loosening these, and the rods can fall out if you get the nut all the way out. So you have to, as you're unthreading it, you have to keep a finger on the rod and turn the nut until it's off. And just spin the nut completely off with your fingers. Of course, put it somewhere safe. Again, this rod is going to want to fall through, so just keep holding it for the moment. And you can get that bracket out of the way. The rod will unhook from down below, so lift it off and keep it safe. Let's get the other one. Now this other one, since I eliminated the tension from this side, this other one is not under any tension, so it's pretty easy to spin off. Again, hold the rod as you spin the nut off. Spin the nut off all the way, set it aside. Now you can lift the bracket out and unhook the rod. Now the battery is completely free at this point. Now the battery in this car has a cover wrapped around it. I'm going to take it off. And I'm somewhat of a fanatic about keeping stuff in my car clean, so I will reuse this cover, but I'll clean it off first so it's nice and fresh looking. The battery itself is ready to be removed, so I will now lift the battery out. Now, as I said, I'm fastidious, so I really like to keep things clean, so I'm going to vacuum up that battery tray. Okay, putting the new battery in place. These things are heavy. All right, there we go. Now from the store, and I got this battery at Costco, the battery has covers on both the positive and the negative terminal. So the next step is to take these covers off, and there's a little tab to peel them off. So go ahead and peel the positive and negative covers off. Now the cover goes on. Now once the cover goes on, it's going to be pretty much impossible to take the handle off the battery. So I guess I'm just going to leave the handle on the battery, and the cover then slides over just like that. Next, I'm going to be putting on this clamp bracket that holds the battery in place, and the easy way to do it, I've discovered, is to take these rods that hold the bracket in place and actually get the nut that holds the rods in at either end of the bracket. Just get it on a little bit, and then we can get the rods down and hooked in place and tighten everything up. So the next thing I'm going to do is to install the rods in the bracket. Like that. With the two rods installed, just a little bit, just a couple turns of the nut on top. So you need to get it under the handle. And while you're doing this, be sure that you don't accidentally touch the two terminals on the battery, because that'll cause a big spark and give you quite a surprise. With this bracket in place like this, you'll need to take a moment now to hook the rods in on either side. It can be a little tricky. So get those rods hooked in, and then we'll be tightening each of these nuts. With the rods hooked in place and the nuts finger tightened, tighten them the rest of the way with the ratchet. Now you don't want to tighten it too much, but you want it good and snug. You don't want your battery to move around as you're driving. But snug it down, but be careful not to over tighten. There you go. The battery should be good and firm in its location. There are only two things remaining, and that is to get the positive terminal and the negative terminal reattached to the battery. Now the negative terminal was the first terminal that we removed, and it will be the last terminal that we reattach. So in other words, next, put on the positive terminal. Slip it over the terminal on the battery and tighten it down. Again, you want it to be good and tight without over-tightening it. So how do you determine whether it's over-tightened or not? Give it a good wiggle. If it doesn't wiggle, it's on tight enough. And get the cover on. Next, the negative terminal. And get that tightened back. Good and snug without over-tightening. And that's on good too. Well, that wasn't that hard a project, except for the heavy lifting. The batteries really do weigh an amazing amount. And now that there's a new battery in the car, you can figure on strong starts for the next few years. You don't have to worry about getting stuck somewhere because the battery's flat. Hey everybody, I'm Bob Kovacs. Thanks for watching.